Hey, hello everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and this is what is this? Hangout number 73. First thing I want to ask you is not only can you hear and see me, but can you see the Christmas display behind me? I've returned from Puerto Rico, but I have not taken down my Christmas ornaments, and I don't want to for like a little bit more time so I can enjoy them. But yeah, I haven't gotten to that since I arrived home. My luggage is in my bedroom. It's been there for 2 days, so I haven't obviously done too well with that either. But can you see and hear me? That is important. And oh, you can see hear me. Okay, I have another question. Did you hear the intro? Because it was really weird last time I did the show. I clicked my normal intro button and it was dead silent until the show started, and I had to have my son edit it because it was so weird. It was freaky. So hoping you can see my nativity scene. It's I love this thing. I absolutely love it. It has a cute little light at night and it shines down on the manger. It's awesome. All right. So no sounds on the intro again. Oh, seriously? Oh man. This is so weird. Okay, now I got to get my son to edit this over again. Oh my gosh. No intro. What the heck? It's the same thing I've been clicking on for the last 2 years, and suddenly the sound is gone. So I don't even understand what's going on. Okay, so I guess my son will have to edit this. He's a good son. He does a good job, and I always appreciate it. But Lord, that is so weird. Yeah, it's not a good way to start a show with like people like leave. Anyway, thank you for being here in the chat room, everybody. I want to say hello to you. And I just want to say that, no, I do not have a beer today. I just have Diet Pepsi because I did all the beers in Puerto Rico because I was on vacation. And everybody's like, oh, I love it when you drink your beer. Maybe next week. Maybe I'll go to that. Anyway, hi, everyone who is here. And Haley is here. Ann Liebman is here. Grandma Tat is here. I'm going to say slit skirt. Ooh. It's a great name. I like it. Scarlett is here. And Ms. Okay, now I'm going to call you Ms. Cece because your name is something I can't pronounce. It's either Cerboni Colangelo or it's Cerboni Colangelo. I have no idea if I'm even close. Oh my goodness. Nice name though. Let's see what Kelly is here. Who else is here? Trying to go down my list like I usually do, and I usually screw it up and leave somebody out, and I always feel bad. Stephanie is here. Lisa S is here. Hey, Aggie. I haven't seen Lisa S in a while. Hi, Lisa. Aggie is here. Sarah Oakley is here. Kate is here. Cindy is here. Yay. Aw, first time here. Well, I'm glad you're here, Cindy. We're pretty nice here. No, actually, we're very nice here. Everybody's cool here. Stephanie is here. No, Stephanie, it's not just you that didn't get the intro sound. So if you're joining the show now and you hear the whole intro, it's because my son edited it and nobody else heard it who was actually here in real time. It's so weird. I've never seen that happen. I don't know why it's happening. So the technical difficulties. Wait. The second one was correct. Cerboni Colangelo. Is that correct? It sounds Italian to me, but I have no Italian expertise at all. I've been to Italy, but I do not know how to speak. Oh, so anyway, so if you'd like to be here, by the way, in the chat room, do click below and join Patreon. It's my $5 a month, supports the educational channel that I am, and there are 8 live shows a month at least. And you can then be in the chat room and be part of our great community. And it keeps all the crazies out, at least most of the time. I've only had to block one Patreon. So that's pretty good. One patron, not Patreon. One patron of Patreon I had to block. But that was it. So that's pretty good. So I think all of our wonderful people here are actually that, and they're interested in criminal profiling and crime scene analysis and not just gossip, which is fabulous. So please do click that. Otherwise, please just, if you don't want to join and pay any money, in this day and age, nobody has any. So just hit the subscribe button, subscribe to the channel, do like the video, share in your true crime groups. That's it. There's other ways to support the channel below. So anyway, that's my little speech. Okay, now I'm trying to control myself as I start this show because I just got a phone call, and I'm not going to mention at this point the media outlet who called me, but I just want to let you know, because I try to tell people about how things work. One of the reasons I'm on YouTube today is because I've quit television for the most part. Now, once in a while, I will do a documentary show when I believe they're bringing me on as an expert and they're not stabbing me in the back. That happens. Media outlets will often bring somebody on just to set them up for the fall. In other words, they'll bring one person on over here and they'll bring on 3 people over here to make them look like the other person like a fool. I've had that happen. I have been libeled. So I'm very cautious about what shows I do. And this was a really important show I wanted to do because I've done a video on this. I was involved in the case and they've called me up and said, hey, we'd like you to be in the show. I'm like, okay, fine. I asked them about payment. Now, they said, oh, our ethics in journalism don't allow us to pay anybody to be on the show. Oh, come on, guys. If you fall for that, if anybody falls for that, yeah, it's nonsense. First of all, the producer gets paid. The cameraman gets paid. The limo driver gets paid. The makeup artist get paid. And they get paid a fortune when the documentary comes out. So don't tell me there's any ethics involved in payment issues. Oh, they say, but we want to have people speak out just because, we don't want to have them coming here and speaking for money. Oh, no, they come for publicity, exposure, to sell books. Oh, that's okay, but not money. And it's not like the producers of the show don't have an agenda. So if you don't say what they want you to say, you're not going to be on, unless you're going to be a punching bag for somebody else on the show. And they can edit you to death. They can edit you to the point of libel, which I've had happen to me, where I didn't say that, but that's what they put me out as saying. So ethics are a little in small supply in the journalism industry. So when you call me up and you say, oh, we're being ethical by not paying you. No, basically what you're saying is you don't want to spend any money on anybody you have on the show. That's it, you're cheap. And it's ridiculous when a person is an expert and has something to offer and they're going to spend half their day or even fly some location to be in your studio and you don't want to pay them. It's called slave labor. And you say, oh, but you're going to get publicity. Oh, wait a minute. Isn't that unethical? I just wish people would understand how the media works. And it's not an ethical organization anymore. I don't know if it ever was. I haven't been around it, back in the 40s and 50s and 60s. I don't know. Maybe it never was ethical, but believe you me, I have not found it to be ethical. That's why I've left for the most part, unless things are very, very clear when I set out to do anything. And I did maintain my ethics during my time on television. I spoke exactly what I believed was true. And I'm surprised I lasted as long as I did, to tell you the truth. But I like being here better because there's no agenda here except for, well, okay, I have one. But at least I tell you I have an agenda. If I have an agenda, I'll be honest with you. Hey, this is my soapbox. I'm not like faking it or, lying about things. So I like being on YouTube because I can be straightforward and I don't feel manipulated. Now, YouTube can demonetize me, but that's okay. Sometimes I just get demonetized. I'm willing to accept that. But at least what I say is not edited. And it's straightforward to you people out there who are viewers and who are interested in what I have to say and in criminal profiling. And at the end of my soapbox is this: I don't like liars. I don't like cheats. I don't like frauds. I don't mind if you think differently from me or you don't like me. I'm okay with that. But once you're a liar and once you hook up with liars, I have issues. So there's my little soapbox for today. All right. Well, yeah, the tikkun, this is so weird. No pay, more profit. This is absolutely true. And it's really weird because the media gets away with basically not paying people for the work they do. They get a lot of people called interns, and then they get people on their shows like me, experts in their field. And when I started out, I worked, as I was invited in, and yes, it's true. I was excited to be on TV. I'd never been there before on national TV, and they liked me and they invited me back, which was fine. When you do a show once a week, you don't think much of it. When you start doing 20 hours, 30 hours a week worth of work, and they don't want to pay you, you think again. And I've told the story before, what I ended up having to do because they refused to pay most of the people on TV. Now, they do pay four-star generals. They do pay certain lawyers. They do pay sometimes there is one profile who did get paid, and I was supposed to actually get that job eventually as a commentator, but he decided not to retire. What I did was I said to them, I'm willing to come in, but I only use one transport company because your limo drivers can't find my place and we're late and it stresses me out. So they all agreed. Every single one of the media outlets agreed. And for almost 15 years, they paid me to drive in because they didn't know I was driving in. I called it always available transport. I was always available. It was me. And so I just drove in. And they paid me from the time I left my house to the time I got back. I never called it a limo service because that would be a lie. I never even called it a car service because sometimes I walk from one studio to the other. Was it a spin? Yes, it was. But these people did not want to pay me and I couldn't work for nothing. So I basically became my own transport service, which they paid for, and I transported myself. And that's how I got paid for 15 years. And when they finally found out, they said, they're like, man, that's brilliant. Nobody else has thought of that. But it's sad because not all these experts that are on television, they should be getting paid. And they used to get paid. Right before I started working in 2000, I don't even know when it was, 2002, 2003, somewhere way back then, 20 years ago. Before I started, they used to pay people like me a wage to come in and work, to come in and give our expert opinion because it took up at least 4 hours of your day to come in and do one show, if not doing a whole bunch of shows. They used to pay people really good money. And then they figured out, hey, wait a minute, we can get away with not paying people by saying, we don't pay our guests because it's unethical. We just want them to be honest and say whatever they want. Of course, they do a pre-interview, and if you don't say what they want you to say, they won't have you on. You see how that works. So anyway, that's my little spiel. I'm very, very annoyed because I did want to do this documentary because this is an important case, and I want to support the person who it is, but I'm concerned that the whole documentary is going to be slanted, agenda driven, and I don't know what the agenda is. I don't know how badly I'm going to be edited or if I'm going to be libeled. And I don't trust them now. They told me that they would pay me if they could find something to pay me for, but apparently I didn't have pictures of Kaylee Anthony. So they couldn't find enough things to pay me for. They couldn't pay me for the interview, you see, but they could pay me for other stuff. But for some reason, I didn't find other stuff. Oh, my goodness. Yes, Kelly, this is true. I had no idea that most experts don't get paid on national TV. I had no idea till you spoke about it. Nobody knows this stuff. And it's literally like a slave plantation for the experts, because yes, you do get maybe something underneath your name that says your book. Yes, it can maybe got your legal, hey, I'm such and such, lawyers, whatever, and you can get more clients. That's true. But I don't understand it because every other industry, you pay people to do their work, and everybody in media gets paid, but the people in front of the camera. And those people, even if they do get paid so poorly. It's unbelievable. It really is, unless you're so important that they will find a way to pay you. Find a way. Oh, we can't pay you, but we'll pay $200,000 for the picture of your dead child. Ethics. Ethics. Oh my goodness. Cindy says you should do a whole show just on the media, please. I may do that. Yeah, I get so frustrated with it because I think what bothers me the most is that people don't realize they're being manipulated by the television shows, by the documentaries. Now, documentaries, for example, I'm going to be doing a show on Garrett Phillips. That's going to be I'm going to do it on Saturday this weekend because I want to play table tennis on Sunday. My coach has invited me. So anyway, Saturday at 3 p.m. EST, I'm going to do the Garrett Phillips case. And it's interesting because there's two shows on it. One is done by, I can't remember now. One is really good. I'm going to put that one out before I'll send it out to everybody. And the other one is highly defense driven. Now, I'm not saying whether the guy's guilty or not who is involved in this. His name is Nick Hillary. He was the one that was arrested and charged and taken to trial and found not guilty. But what's interesting is the manipulation done to sell. This is the issue. It's not about manipulation because they truly believe stuff. It's because it makes money, like making a murder. If you went out and told the truth on making a murderer, that guy is Stephen Avery is a psychopath and a half, guilty as hell, with massive amount of evidence, you can't sell that. But if you can say, oh my God, in spite of all that, Stephen Avery, he was railroaded by the system. And now you make a fortune. Always have to have good music too, creepy music. So anyway, I get very frustrated because the ethics thing is such a lie. It's absolutely a lie. And I wish people at least try to achieve ethics when you're doing something like this. I try to achieve that on my channel. I'd say is I'm going to focus on the evidence, try to analyze the evidence, and tell you that I'm doing this as an educational venture. It's criminal profiling and crime scene analysis. I'm not necessarily saying I'm right or the guy's guilty or not guilty, but I'm going to try to stay as true to what I can see as I can. Nobody's hired me. Nobody's behind me. I'm not for the prosecution or for the defense. I'm here to look at the evidence. And I think a lot of people don't realize that when they're watching stuff, they're watching the news, they're watching these documentaries. They're so good at manipulation, especially with that really good music. They got great music in these things. It's always like very dramatic and it like sucks you in. And then they got great visuals sometimes and you get very involved. It's like being part of the show. And then you lose your sense of being able to step back and saying, okay, just give me the evidence. Stop trying to play me here. Give me the evidence. And that's very, very frustrating. Yeah, that's for sure. It comes down to the almighty dollar. It does. And it's very, I'm sorry to hear that. It reminds me of my ex. I'm really sorry to hear that. Oh my God. That's funny. Most shows seem to have a slant to them. That's true, Kelly. And that's why you have to be careful because they do. And as an expert, I have to be careful too, because I just don't know. Are they looking for my true expert opinion or are they using me? And I don't like to be used because I want people who are seeing me to believe what I have to say is honest and honorable and not I'm being bought by somebody. And they'll say, oh, well, if we pay you, then it's clear you're bought. No, if you pay me, it's my time. I'm an expert. This is my work. And I really don't want to spend the entire day making you money and I don't get paid for my work. That's ridiculous. And they're saying, but if we pay you, then you could be doing our bidding. Well, hey, people do your bidding all the time because they want to get on TV and sell their books. So get out of here. You're liars. You're liars. And I just really dislike lying. Okay. All right. I'm going to control myself now. No, I'm not. Okay. That is my little soapbox for tonight. Just because that just came in right before the show and it just really, really upset me. So anyway, what am I going to talk about? You asked about good old Murdaugh. And I think I have his name pronounced correctly. I have trouble with his name. His name looks like Murdaugh to me. So I have trouble when it's Murdaugh. And the trial is going on. And you've asked, what do I think? And actually, I do not watch trials. I don't have the time, and they bore the heck out of me, just generally speaking, which is why I feel sorry for the jury, because the jury sits there for hours and hours listening to a bunch of rot. And then the dog and pony show goes on because it's video. It's it's on television. Here's what my basic statement is on this so far, just from what I've read, because I won't watch the television. I think the evidence is going to convict him. I think the motive that the prosecution has come up with is a little bit weak, shall we say. And when you try to come up with motive, you got to be careful, because when you're telling the jury this is the person's motive, which, first of all, you have no clue. Because if the dude committed this crime, is a 100% psychopath. You actually have no idea what his actual motive is. And he might have multiple motives, or he may not even know why he did it anyway. So when you try to create a motive, you got to be a little careful of that, because you can have the jury say, that does not make sense. So the motive that I saw the prosecution come up with was he killed his wife and son because two things. One was that because the son had that, that boat crash thing, and they were suing, that he wanted to get his son out of the way so that the information that they might get on that wouldn't happen. I'm not sure that would stop anything, so that didn't make sense to me. The second one was he wanted sympathy, since he was about to get nailed for a whole bunch of other crap. He thought if he killed his wife and son, he would get sympathy, like, oh my God, your family has brutally murdered. Oh my God, we can't accuse you of anything else. Is that really the reason he would kill his wife and son, was just to get some sympathy from the public? Now, if he's psychopathic, hey, it's possible. But I don't know. I mean, I find it weak, a weak motive, and I find the other weak motive too. So you got two weak motives. So I don't know. I don't know what his motive was if he did this crime. It could be a whole bunch of things. It could be, I'm tired of the two of you. It could be, you're going to rat me out. It could be the sympathy thing. But if you don't really know and you're trying to present that, it's a little weak. That's my opinion on it. So they need to focus on the evidence and not on the weakness of the motive. That's my particular opinion. Yes, Scarlett, they said it would draw attention away from his financial crimes. Really? Maybe he thought so, but we don't know that he thought so. So I just find that kind of useless, in my opinion. Going back to the other thing you're asking about. So I know you do work pro bono for families with a missing child. Not so much anymore. I used to work pro bono. For many years, I worked pro bono, spent my own money. So when you say pro bono, it always sounds like you didn't charge the family, which I didn't. But I had to pay for my flights. I had to pay for the hotel rooms, the car rentals, all the time I put into it. So it came out of my own pocket. Why did I do that? Well, a couple of reasons. One, in the beginning, I really thought if I could help families, it was worth it. And I'll say there was a little bit of personal, I was newer into the field, and I wanted the experience. And the police departments weren't paying, and they weren't going to pay me to come out. So if I wanted to work the cases and they invited me to work with them, I paid my way, kind of like you pay for a master's degree. So I did pay for a master's degree later on, but this was, in my opinion, paying to get experience, to work in the field with the people I wanted to work with, and to help people at the same time who also may not have had the money to pay me. So I did that. So if you do that for free and do media interviews for free, how are you supposed to survive? Well, there comes an interesting question. At some point, you have to get paid for your work. And I'm not a lawyer. And most profiles do not get paid for the work, so don't ever believe that they do. They get paid for other stuff like writing books. It can be very difficult to survive. It really can. That's why I tell people, If you think you're going to go into profiling and make a living, you're probably not. So I found other ways to survive. But it's just, to me, it is, if you get paid, I mean, let me tell you what I had happen with Johns Hopkins University called me up and they said, we're going to have a program for seniors and you're a senior citizen now. Thank you very much. And we would like you to teach a class in criminal profiling for senior citizens, which of course they're not going to be using for going to work, but this would be just an interest class. They wanted me to do this for 3 months, 12 classes every week. They wanted me to drive there, do the class for 2 hours, answer questions, drive home. That's about 5 hours of my time every week. They wanted me to develop the entire program because this is not a program for police. It's not a program for even college students. This is a different program. I'd have to develop it. And then I'd have to be in town for 12 weeks straight and not be able to leave to do other stuff. And also give up those 5 hours a day every week when I could be doing other work. And I said, so what are you paying? And they said, oh, we pay gas. And I'm like, seriously, why would I do this for gas? And they went, well, you want to help senior citizens, don't you? I'm like, well, if you want to help senior citizens, do you get paid? Oh, yeah, you get paid. I see. You run the program. You get paid for helping senior citizens. But I'm supposed to give up all my time and expertise for absolutely zero because I'm a senior citizen and don't need to survive. This is the kind of stuff these people do. And so you think the teacher coming into your course is getting paid at least for their time? Not so. There's an amazing amount of people who do things, volunteer, especially in the senior citizen group, like volunteering at the hospital because I don't want to pay people to stand behind a desk and they think, no senior citizens, they need to get out of their house once a week and see people, just use them and not pay them. As if they don't need to earn a living because, hey, seniors can live a long time today. They can live 30 years after they retire. They need money. It's unbelievable. So yeah, that is kind of a strange thing. Let's go back to Murdaugh. That family was big time in that town for several generations. They were very powerful. And when you're very powerful in a town, it's very hard to go up against these people because and so many people are entwined. It's like this spider web. And they got the big spider. And then you got these little guys just trying to survive in there. And so Murdaugh and his whole family and his whole generations, they're crooked. They seem to be very crooked, shall we say. Seem to be. I won't say they are. They seem to be extremely crooked. And they manipulated a lot of people and a lot of business and a lot of everything. And he seemed to be the biggest spider of all, shall we say. And I'm going to say that if he committed the financial crimes and the murders, that's one huge psychopath. But one that was able to come into that whole world and control. And sometimes they do. So yeah. So as if the hospital isn't making any money. It's an embarrassment to take advantage of people. And this is also done when a lot of interns don't make any money. And if you're actually learning something and it's going to promote you in a field, I get it. You do a little internship and that gets you to network and all that stuff. But there are times when they just use people. I remember I must have been, I don't know if I wasn't a Girl Scout. I remember being a teenager and I had this opportunity to go work in a nursing home. And I thought, oh, this is nice, because I thought what I was going to do is go from room to room and talk to the patients, read to them, bring them, somehow bring them joy. They told me I was supposed to empty the trash, sweep the floors, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, excuse me, was I hired for janitorial work? Because if that's true, I'm not getting a damn thing out of this. I'm not getting anything. I'm not learning anything about nursing. I'm not learning anything about patient care. You're just using me as a free janitor. I have an objection. It's unbelievable. Yeah, you learn a lot of things in life as you go along. So anyway, that's just the only thing I want to say on Murdaugh, as his name actually is pronounced. All right, now I want to talk about some other things. All right, I want to talk about, her. Oh, yes, the woman's back. Oh, yes, she is. All right, so this is, hold on a second. Trying to find my Anna Sorokin. Sorokin. Okay, Anna's back of Inventing Anna of Netflix. Remember, Anna was the Russian woman who claimed she was German heiress who ripped up a whole pile of people in New York in high society, and she got finally caught, and she went to prison for a wee bit. Now she's on house arrest. She's got a little ankle bracelet, but hey, house arrest isn't hurting her because she's already doing stuff via Zoom and things like that. She's like already making the money. She already made money off of Netflix, like $300,000. I guess they paid for interviews, huh? Or her story. That was ethical. Okay, anyway. All right, so here's the story. Anna Sorokin will star in a new... Oh, wait a minute. Let me step back. Do you remember when I said when that woman gets out of prison, she's going to make so much freaking money off of being a criminal and a psychopath? You're not going to believe it. I was right. I don't know why she's not been deported from the country, but apparently not. Anna Sorokin will star in new reality show, Delvy's, because that's her other name, her fake name, Delvy's Dinner Club, while on house arrest. Isn't that sweet? All right. Anna Sorokin isn't going far for her next move. Sorokin, who became the subject of Netflix Inventing Anna after she posed as a wealthy German heiress. I don't know what accent I have tonight, named Anna Delvey, while living in New York City, announced on Wednesday that she will star in an unscripted reality series while she is under house arrest, because you should be able to make a shitload of money while you're under house arrest, shouldn't you now? Now, if you're a criminal profiling expert, you shouldn't make a penny with the media. But if you're a criminal, the media will give you a fortune. We're so ethical. Sometimes you just look at life and you go, when I was a little child running around, I did not know this is the way the world worked, but now I do. Okay, anyway, the show, currently titled Delvy's Dinner Club, will follow Sorokin, 32, in her East Village apartment, which she can afford, which is an incredibly expensive apartment, as she hosts a collection of actors who have no ethics, musicians who have no ethics, founders who have no ethics, socialites who have no ethics, journalists who definitely have no ethics, and more for private invite-only dinner parties. Anna, am I coming? I got ethics. I'm not showing up. I don't care what you pay me. Okay. The intimate evenings will be catered by private chefs with no ethics and feature equally intimate conversations about Anna's experience within the criminal justice system, which is, of course, not exactly like anybody else's experience in the criminal justice system. Her strategy to rebuild her image. Because we all know she's a wonderful girl, really, and her experiences in prison have helped her become a better person. And her plans for the future, which is hopefully for her not getting deported and making a crapload more money. For 4 years, the Russian-born Sorokin used a fake persona to spend invalid credit cards, fraud, and issue fake bank statements, fraud, bounce from hotel to hotel, fraud, and steal an estimated, good word, an estimated $275,000. She was arrested in October 2017 following a sting operation, found guilty of 8 charges, including attempted grand larceny in the first degree, grand larceny in the second degree, and grand larceny in the third degree, and theft of services. But of course, did she get a really long prison sentence? Oh, no. So anyway, she's already out by 2021. So this was in 2019. She got 2 years, basically, for all of that, because she's she couldn't help herself, and she's a woman. All right. So she got released early from prison in February 2021, early from prison because she was such a good prisoner. And then she was taken into custody by the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement after overstaying her visa. She chose to spend 18 months in immigration detention instead of returning to Europe. Since she's been released, she's been barred from joining social media, but that she has everybody else doing her social media for her, you see. That's the way it works with prisoners. It drives me crazy. People are like, well, I'm in prison and I can't go on the computer. I can't go on the internet. but I got 10 people working for me who do. Mm-hmm. And she must use electronic monitoring, which doesn't seem to be deterring any of her life. All right. She's going to be partnering with Butternut, with no ethics, a lifestyle-focused media company with no ethics, from Wheelhouse, who have no ethics, and led by former president of Food Network, Courtney White, who has no ethics. But hey, why do you need ethics when you can make a fortune off of this woman? Now, there is nothing like the experience of bringing together a curated group of friends to share life stories and enjoy a great culinary experience. Because I guess she doesn't just want to get, pizza from 7-Eleven. She wants to have great chefs come to her house that she can't leave and get great food. I want that, and I'm not getting that. All right. I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with Wheelhouse and Butternut to bring my vision. Her vision. Oh my God. To work with, to a wider audience and share a glimpse of the real Anna Delvey. Well, you already know what the Anna Delvey is. You're a psychopath. 100% psychopath. And I don't blame you as much as I blame the media people, because you're a psychopath and that's who you are. Like, you're a snake. But then you got these people who are perfectly happy to take that snake and present that snake to the public and make a fortune off of that snake, claiming the snake isn't a snake. That's where I have the problem. All right. Anyway, that's the future, and you can look forward to it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Can we stop giving people stuff just because we think they're pretty? That girl is not pretty. Sorry. That girl is not pretty. I'm sorry. That Anna Delvey or Sorokin, she's not an attractive person, really. She's not a pretty girl. What she does is she gets very expensive clothing, and she has an interesting attitude she is able to use to sucker people in. But she's actually not a pretty girl at all. So that is definitely not that at all. But I'm going to give her credit. She's very good at what she does. And just because somebody is good at what they do doesn't mean you should partner with them. So somebody is a good liar, a good manipulator, doesn't mean you should partner with them to make money. And I have issues with that. All right. Maybe she'll teach a master's class. She probably will, Scarlett. I would not be surprised. All right. That's my bit on Anna. Now, I do want to mention just a very short thing on Idaho. See if I can find it. And I want to point out two things. This is again is stuff that you read in the media, and you never know where the truth lies. So anyway, this is Madison and Zana. Let's see. They were servers at this place called Mad Greek. Okay. All right. So they said a former staff member who, anonymous, claimed to people that Mr. Koberger, well, I don't like calling him Mr., but okay, the Thing, had visited the eatery in the weeks before the killing. The guy is complaining she is complaining, Ms. Fisher, who I guess runs the place, says the news media should really do their due diligence before running a story with completely fabricated information. This person who wants their 5 minutes of fame has now caused a whole bunch of extra work for myself and the investigators. They claim he wasn't there. They had to get all the footage, and they didn't see him there. Isn't that interesting? And see, he was a vegan place. So it's like, oh my God, see, he was stalking the two and they were there, and he's a vegan, so he went there. Was there proof of that? Apparently, no. Now, maybe it did, but what bugs me is what they're saying is that stop telling stories that you don't even know the validity of. But let's look at some other information that comes out in the media. All right, so they did a search of this guy's apartment. And this I just thought was, shall we say, pitiful. So here you okay. Hair strands, stained pillow among creepy items. don't look in my bed because I might have a stained pillow and some hair strands. So I guess I'm creepy too. Are those creepy items, or is that the media saying garbage again? Oh my goodness. So the investigators collected evidence that ranged from creepy to mundane. A black surgical glove, a vacuum cleaner bag. Man, somebody still uses vacuum cleaner bags? I just do one. Okay, I just hire people. I hate cleaning. I have a vacuum cleaner. They use it. I don't. But it doesn't have a cleaner bag. It's one of those things you just pull out. A dozen strands of hair because, oh my God, you're sleeping on a pillow. Both human and animal. Animal hairs. A receipt from Marshall's and Walmart. Oh my God, go through my trash. I don't go to Marshall's. I do go to Walmart. A sample collected from a dark red spot found inside. Inside what? Inside what? What? Cuttings from an uncased pillow. Now, one should put cases on their pillow, but sometimes those suckers fall off and you can't figure out where they went. With a reddish brown stain. If it were me, that would be salsa. Oh, crap. And a mattress covering multiple stains. Maybe the dude ate in bed. Maybe he's jacking off. I don't know. But really, is this a news story? This is what drives me crazy. This is just junk. It's ridiculous that they make this whole thing up about stuff that is not actually news. If you're going to be a news media station, you should have actual news, not nonsense. I can't even continue with that because it's so stupid. It's beyond stupid. Okay, that's all I want to say about Idaho, because it's stupid. All right, now I want to talk about. Let's see what I had planned here next. What is that? Oh, I got to look at my picture and think. Oh, somebody asked me about. This is interesting. This is the case in England, the disappearance of Andrew Gosden. This was a young man. He was 14 years old. And what he did was he disappeared from central London. Now, he left his home in Doncaster, South Yorkshire. He withdrew £200 from his bank account, bought a one-way ticket to London from the Doncaster station. He was last seen on CCTV, that's what you see there, leaving King's Cross station. And he's never been seen again. So they have no clue what happened to this guy. And I think I did something in one of my other hangouts on this and what I thought was more likely, but they haven't found him since, what is it now? 2007. That's a long time. Now, in 2021, that was December of 2021, detectives investigating the case arrested 2 men on suspicion of kidnapping and human trafficking in relation to Gosden's disappearance. Both men have been released under investigation while inquiries continue. They're believed to be the first arrest made in connection with his disappearance. In January 2023, police confirmed the investigation was still ongoing, electronics and so on and so forth. It's now been a year. So the question is, did these guys really have anything to do with Andrew Gosden's disappearance, or were they just some squirrely dudes and made some comments and therefore they're being looked at? But it's really sad because the family, like when they heard this, like, finally, we're going to get, some kind of, peace. We're going to find out who did this. And now it's been a whole year and you got to wonder that they really have anything worth anything. So I think that was just kind of it's sad that it's been a year and nothing has come of it so far. Okay. This I want to mention because this is something. This is called a Glock switch. All right. As it says here, within seconds of adding a small device to a pistol, a gun goes from shooting one bullet at a time to firing off 1,200 bullets per minute. Now, okay, little teeny thing. This is unbelievable. But what I want to say about it is not so much the fact that this new thing has come out, but who's using it. And this is where soapbox number 2 comes up. All right. Within seconds of adding a small device to a pistol, they can do 1,200 bullets per minute. It's bad because it poses a significant threat to law enforcement and the general public. Absolutely. All right. It's something you can make in your house. That's the problem. On your computer, it's not something made with craftsmanship, which makes guns break down, as you can see, making them more dangerous. And they're not just, they can alter all kinds of things. All right. So the problem is this. Listen to this. Dozens have been taken off the streets in Baton Rouge, where more and more young people are using them, hoping to hit their intended target. We're talking gangs, okay? We're talking young people under the age of 18 who have access to illegal weapons. Now, apparently, they don't count, the state laws do not count modified guns as machine guns, which carry greater penalties. So in order to charge somebody with possession of a fully automatic machine gun, they have to come to a special range to prove it. Now, Moore's office is working with state lawmakers to redefine what a machine gun is. All right. He noted that if you have a, quote, machine gun, you can get bigger charges, but if you have less, you get less charges. Okay. What's the big problem here, in my opinion? The problem is the people who have these guns, first of all, are young people. They're under the age of 18. They're juveniles. Secondly, they're all illegal. They're all illegal. I don't care what you add to it. The gun originally was illegal too. We have nothing in this country that stops people with illegal weapons. There's this huge outcry for people with legal weapons, but no real push to get illegal weapons off the street. My opinion, if you're caught with an illegal weapon, boom, 5 to 10 years, done. You can't have one. If you're a felon with an illegal weapon, okay, let's say 5 years for the person with an illegal weapon, 10 years if you're a felon with an illegal weapon. But no, they're out on bail, or they don't even have bail anymore, and they're out on the streets right away. They have illegal weapons everywhere, and more of them are ghost guns these days. It's amazing what's out there. It has nothing to do with illegal weapons. And if we're not going to stomp on people who have illegal weapons, who have illegal uses for those illegal weapons, which is driving me nuts. This isn't about self-defense. You don't have an illegal weapon for self-defense. You have an illegal weapon to commit robberies, to commit hits on the other gang, or to protect yourself from the other gang that's trying to hit you. But it's all about criminality, drugs, controlling areas. It's illegal. All of it's illegal. And yet we let these young criminals run around with illegal weapons and then go, oh, well. And then we get mad about other weapons that are legal, which is ridiculous. So I'm saying, let's get the illegal weapons off the street. That's my soapbox. If you're going to complain about weapons, get the illegal weapons off the street and get the people with the illegal weapons charged and put in prison. Oh, that's soapbox number whatever. Well, that's a good question. What do you think about under 18 penalties should be? It's really tricky. We have that little 6-year-old right now who has been charged with shooting his teacher. Well, he hasn't been charged. He's just been noted to shoot his teacher. The parents, in my opinion, are responsible for the little 6-year-old creature. And they ought to be put in prison for allowing access to that gun. Oh, they claim, oh no, that he stole the key for that gun. The kid's 6. Where the heck is your key? Because here's the rule. When you own a legal weapon, which I do, the gun is either in a safe that no one knows the code to, including your 6-year-old, who you don't let watch you put the code in, for God's sakes. If it has a key, where's the key? The key cannot be where the 6-year-old can see where the key is, because then the kid has access to your gun. So a gun is either in the safe, totally locked up in a way no one can access it, or it's on your body. Okay. There are times when behind a locked door, you might have it on, if there's no children in the house, you might have it on a bedstand where you have total control over the gun. Essentially, you must, as a gun owner, have 100% control over that gun 100% of the time. If you do not, then you're responsible, unless you are literally, the gun is literally stolen by somebody who breaks into your house, drills out your safe, whatever. In that case, you're not responsible. But for anybody else, Anybody who can access your gun without your because you're not paying attention to it, you should go to prison with them. And if your kid does it, you should go to prison instead of them if necessary. So, I mean, I think you have to be responsible for your gun. I think you have to be responsible for your car. I think you have to be responsible for your crappy little kid. It used to be once upon a time when your kid was crappy, you went down with them. Nowadays, it's like, oh, you poor thing. Your kid's a piece of garbage, but hey, you couldn't help it. Maybe you could. Maybe you should stop dealing drugs. Maybe you should stop doing whatever you're doing. Maybe you should pay attention to your kid. Maybe you should actually raise them. Therefore. Parents said it was secured. Obviously, it was not. Absolutely. It was not secured if your 6-year-old can get to it. That's a lie. You should go to prison. This too. Scarlett says, and he told his classmates he wanted to set her on fire. Actually, the teacher is now suing the school system because he was known about the gun thing. It was everywhere, and they knew about it, and they even stopped him from searching for the gun. So she's suing the school system, which she should, along with the parents, in my opinion. It's just unbelievable. Let's see. Good Lord, look at this. My mother was a 5th grade teacher, and a student brought in a gun to kill his mother. He borrowed it from a friend. Well, whoever that friend was, if it was an underage friend, parents ought to go down. So nuns would hit you than your parents did when you got home. Yeah, I remember my ex-husband. He's in Jamaica, and he would say, when you messed up in school, and they whacked you with a little whatever they whacked you with. He said the problem was you ran really, really fast with your bare feet if you didn't have shoes, all the way home to your house up there in the hills, trying to get there before the word got to your mother, and it almost never worked. You got there and your mother was on the porch like this, and now I'm going to beat you. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So these guns, you got to stop illegal guns, and you got to stop people who have them. They're doing the illegal thing. They're criminal. If you are a human being, a citizen, and you get hold of an illegal gun or create an illegal gun, you are a criminal, even if you're a child. And so therefore we have to stop criminal behavior, and we are not doing it. Now, speaking of that, this is a really bizarre case. Not that one. Here we go. This, when we talk about juveniles in the system, let's see. Okay. What's so interesting about this is not just what happened, but the story behind what happened. Hold on a second. All right. In Los Angeles, a 17-year-old ran over a mother walking her baby in a stroller. She was walking along the side of that road, and there's a whole video of this, so no question about it. She was right up against the wall, pushing her baby in a stroller. He hit her with the car. He received just a few months of diversionary camp as a punishment. Okay, that was his punishment. Now you say, okay, well, maybe he wasn't paying attention. He was like texting, and his car went a little bit over further, and he hit the woman. Okay, if that were true, I get it. That's not true. That's not what happened. What happened was he was driving a stolen car. Yes, he was. He was driving a stolen car. Let me find this information about when this happened. Actually, it's in Venice, California. Venice, California. All right. So the office judge or whatever decided it was appropriate resolution. Oh, really? Supposedly he got 5 to 7 months in a juvenile probation camp. A punishment for young offenders described as less severe than military school, but harsher than a summer camp. Okay. If he just did that and he wasn't, just was an accident. Oh, but that's not what happened. The video shows a stolen vehicle. Oh, not just careless driving, reckless driving? No, a stolen vehicle speeding the wrong way down a one-way back street. And why was it doing that? Because it already hit another car. So they also found drugs in the driver's system. And then he ran. Then it was a hit. It was a hit and run, because then he left. Okay. Oh, sorry. Sorry. He didn't hit a car first. He had stolen a car. He hit the woman, and a good Samaritan in a pickup truck rammed the car head on to stop him. So he had a stolen car. He hit a woman and her baby. He drove away from the scene, and he had drugs in the system. All of those things. This guy is not Mr. Innocent. All right. Now, so he just gets this light punishment. All right. Now, get this. Oh, so you think, well, maybe this was just, he was 17 years old and he just did this one stupid thing. He had some drugs and he stole a car. Oh, no. That's not what happened. Because, hold on a second. Let me find this earlier. Let's see. Where's the other thing here? Because it gets more amazing than this. The teen was already on felony probation for poisoning a high school girl's drink at the time of the hit and run. So, at 15 years old, he poisoned a girl, tried to kill this girl. He gets probation. Then he runs over a woman with her baby, and he gets basically, a little summer camp. So then he does his little summer camp, and then it turns out, this is the latest news. Let's see, where is it here? It says here, Los Angeles hit and run driver who plowed into mom and baby in a stolen car is murdered after light sentence. He was just shot to death. So he was killed. I don't know who killed the guy. Oh, sources close to the investigation said he'd been at a fast food restaurant earlier trying to get with a girl. I guess the girl he didn't want to poison. As he walked home alone, a car pulled up next to him and an argument broke out, and somebody in the vehicle opened fire, then sped off. So he got shot. So anyway, the woman who was run over with a baby said she'd moved out of Los Angeles because of the soft on crime policies. When she heard the news about the guy who ran over her getting shot, she had to mull it over alone. She said she was both relieved and saddened by the news. She said this, which I think is kind of funny. The universe delivered the justice we weren't given in court, but a much harsher penalty, a harsher punishment than if he'd been dealt with in a court of law. Now, what's kind of funny is some people are saying that the family may sue the system for not doing more to keep him in, to punish him, because by not punishing him, they let him out on the street to be killed. Will that happen? I don't know. But here you have a juvenile who is dangerous as heck, and probably the guy who killed him also probably had an illegal weapon and shot him. So we have a lot of juvenile criminality going on, which nobody's paying attention to and nobody's doing anything about to speak of, except for this little tiny wimpy things. So yeah, So this is true, Kelly. Basically, he can injure, assault anyone until he kills someone. Pretty much. Oh, you're watching this. My mouth is open. I'm catching flies right now. I thought you were watching. There's actually a video showing this, and he's just wailing down the street, and she's like over to the edge, and he just whacks her, and she flies into the air with the. I'm surprised she wasn't killed. She actually survived this quite well. She was actually standing up afterwards. The baby didn't get killed. Purely amazing luck that she and the baby survived this. It's just unbelievable. People will sue either way. That is true. That is very true. I used to be a nurse in a jail. The most common threat was to be sued. Yeah, that's, sometimes, people need to be sued, but sometimes they just sue over just literally everything that they're actually responsible for, which I find kind of frustrating. All right, now, this one I want to talk about is, because I talked about drugs the other week and the issue of homelessness and drugs. This is a library, okay? And this library is in, hold on a second. This is in, sorry. Oh, come on back. Where are you? Oh, there we go. 3 Colorado libraries, 3 of them closed due to unhealthy meth levels. Yes, you heard me right. Unhealthy meth levels in libraries. Yes, the lovely library where you take your children, which, by the way, if you have a library like mine, we've got a gorgeous building And most of the shelves are empty. We have very few books on the shelves anymore because people aren't reading those books, and they no longer will put books in the library that are great classics. They only put books that are super popular. So therefore we have basically trash books in the library, and you have to order the good books to be sent in, which just drives me crazy. And you walk in there and there's like empty spaces like this. Like, I'm like, what's the point of a library if you got no books? And the shelves are only up to here. You remember when the shelves were up to the ceiling, and then somebody had to get a kind of ladder and go up, and they only had the librarian picked good books? No longer. Now you have to just have popular books, and very few. And the rest of it is a big, huge meeting space, meeting rooms, and a lot of computers for people so they can have kids after school, and people who are homeless have places to come and spend their time. So this is what happened. You see, the bathroom is blocked off now. What happened in that bathroom, you say? All right, unhealthy levels of methamphetamine. In the latest instance, the Burmis Public Library in Littleton, Colorado, about 10 minutes south of Denver, was forced to close its doors after a test found meth contamination in the bathrooms. No evidence of drug use or paraphernalia was found by the library staff, but the tests were performed out of an abundance of caution. All right, no, that's not what was true. They basically, this is what's true. Let me find this. People, the Boulder Main Library was shut down for 2 weeks after restroom exhaust vents also showed elevated levels of methamphetamine after employees observed people using drugs there in November and December. The city said the restrooms were the busiest in the city. Bathrooms are being used in libraries for use to be able to use drugs. Your children go to the library and they go into the bathroom and they're in there with people doing drugs. I would close that. I want that library closed down. I want to close down permanently until they decide you can't have people coming in there doing that kind of crap. That's absolutely insane. But I see it in my local library too. I walk in there, I'm like, who the heck are these people? Probably have a tent outside. But now they're in the library and they're in the bathrooms with my granddaughter. We have lost our minds. A library was not supposed to be a used bookstore. It was not supposed to be Goodwill. It was supposed to be a place where all people, including poor people, would have the opportunity to go in and read great literature, to educate themselves, to not have to spend a penny, but could educate themselves. Those libraries used to expect that you, first of all, whispered when you came in. You didn't have access to anything but the books. And the librarian knew what the heck she was doing or he was doing. Now, when you go in there, I went in there and said, hey, can you recommend any books? And you know what that librarian told me? Well, I don't read much. She couldn't recommend a thing. You should be able to recommend great books, either the classics or even the more popular books of today, which are some excellent books out there that maybe this year there's some fabulous books, but they couldn't recommend anything because they didn't know. They just told me to go on the internet and figure it out myself. They were there to manage the library, not because they read. This is shocking to me. And I'm sorry, there's some librarians out there are going to attack me for this, but hey, I've been to more than one library and I've had the same story. And I'm appalled. I want a library that only has the greatest books. And they can be modern books. They can be something put out this year, but they should be selected for their fine literature. And if you want crap, if you want to read garbage romance stories or sex stuff or whatever crap you want to read, hey, order it from Amazon. That's not something we aren't required to provide garbage for poor people. We should be providing great education for poor people so they can get ahead in life. They don't need garbage. We don't need garbage if you're not poor. So if you want crap, hey, Goodwill does have it. The used bookstore. You can get it online. You can get all the crap you want. But the library is supposed to have a higher goal, a higher sense of serving the community than providing a place for druggies to go in and use the bathrooms to do meth in. And for kids to come in there and play games on the computers, and for people to come in there and get porn and garbage reading because you don't care about quality. Interesting stuff. Anyway, soapbox number 5. Oh, Lord. Oh, Grandma Tat says, I worked in a community service and we had a public computer lab. We had 2 restrooms and it was crazy. I had to call the police numerous times to get people out of the bathrooms. That's why they require that you pay for food before you use the McDonald's bathrooms in certain areas of town, because they know what the people are using the bathrooms for. And they figure if you can't even afford to buy some fries, you're not going to go into our bathrooms because we know you're doing drugs. And that's a simple fact. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Lisa N says, hi, Lisa N. Such a shame. I love our local libraries, and there are always shelves of the staff's recommended reading, which get updated quite often. Well, you're lucky that you got something like that, because I have seen our libraries going downhill tremendously, and it really upsets me, because that's where you should have that peace of mind when you go in, that you're there for academic stuff, where when you read something, you're going to sit down and go, oh my gosh, this is fabulous. Not, oh my gosh, look, porn. You can get that elsewhere. There's so many places to get that. You don't have a problem. And on the internet, you can pretty much get all of that for free. So I just think it's a shame. Yeah, me too. I love my local library. I remember going there and talking to the woman, asking, and one of the things she did, which was really cool, she suggested I do this, and I thought it was neat. She said, well, why don't you start in the A's? And these are all good books. So pick one of each author. And I did that. And I remember so well, I read Things Fall Apart by, it's an African author, Things Fall Apart. Now I got to look it up because I'll feel bad if I don't, because it's a really good book. And he was a famous author, and there was a great book. And this was a kind of book that one should read. Things Fall Apart. Oh, Chinua Achebe is the name of the author on that. And it's almost a 5-star book, 7,209 people giving rave reviews of it. And that was in the A section. And I remember reading one from Japan where this couple was forced to live in a sand pit. It was fascinating, but it was Japanese, and I can't remember the name of that one. But I started doing that, and it was really neat because I looked at the whole collection of the next person, and I pick out one, and then go to the next name and pick out another. And I got to read some great stuff. I wouldn't dare do that today because I'd be reading a whole pile of crap, and I wouldn't do that. Oh, you read that one. Things Fall Apart is a great book. We read it at school. All right. That's fantastic. I just love great literature. And I think everybody should read that. It's just a shame that we don't oftentimes even know that stuff. The other day I'd read Heidi, the original Heidi. And as an adult, I read this a couple of years ago, and it's a little too, my little granddaughter, it's still a little tough for her, some of the depth of the story. But it is one of the most amazing, beautiful stories I've ever read. And as an adult, I think I read it as, I say, recently, and I loved that book. What a great book. I don't think you'll find it in the library, though. Yeah, you might find some watered down version, but you won't find it. And then, on the other end of the whole spectrum here, Moby Dick is one of my absolute favorites of all time. And I thought, this is a book I will hate because I could care less about seamen. The men of the sea. So let's just get that straight up. Go watch out on these shows. The men of the sea, sailors that are out there hunting whales. And the book is like this thick. And I'm thinking, they describe everything from the bones of the whales and all these other things. And I'm thinking, this has got to be dull as all get out. And I found it absolutely fascinating. And I read the whole book. I love Moby Dick. That's what the library should be putting out there. Those kind of things. And not Woman in the Dunes? Wait a minute. Really, Lisa? Is that the name of it? Oh my God, really? Hold on a second. Now I got to find out. That could be. It starts with an A? Woman in the Dunes. Oh my God, yes. Kobo Abe. Yes. That was amazing, fascinating book. Absolutely great. Oh my gosh. Thank you very much. I never thought I'd remember the name of that book. Um, Lisa N says, agree about Moby Dick, a hard read in the whale killing sections, but one of my favorite books. Yeah, and the doldrums section where the ship was in the doldrums and you felt the doldrums, but it was done in such a brilliant way that you actually felt like you were there and you understood what they were going through. I'm totally amazed. Anything Dickens. I'm David Copperfield 100%. And the drunk scene in David Copperfield is the best drunk scene ever written. Anyway, all right, that's the book section of today's show. Okay, now I want to go to this case because remember last week I talked about a woman that was so kind to allow this homeless guy to come into her home. She gave him a place to stay and eventually killed her and whatever. I forgot how many killed in the family. But I said, you can want to help people, but you got to be very careful about who you help because you have to protect your family first, especially if you have children, and protect yourself before you put yourself in a situation where you're doing things for some concept of I'm a good person or I want to help people, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of people to help. You don't need to help people that are going to kill you. But listen to this story. I think this is another story about don't do this. Okay. Don't do this. This guy, his name is Travis Lewis. He killed this woman on the right side is Martha McKay. All right. He killed her. He killed her 23 years after she forgave him for killing her mom. That's the mom on the left. How did this happen, you say? Okay, her mom was killed in a home invasion. All right, she lived in this beautiful house. It's called the Snowden House. Marble floor, sweeping staircase, beautiful place. All right, it's in Arkansas. This home has been okay, so in 1996, Sally Snowden McKay, 75, and her nephew, musician Joseph Lee Baker, 52, were found shot dead inside the historic property. Was understood they disturbed a burglar and the suspect, a 16-year-old Travis Lewis, who shot them in fright, supposedly shot them in fright. He then reportedly set fire to the house. The teenager who had been living with his parents nearby was quickly arrested and charged with a double murder. Despite saying someone else had been involved, he pleaded guilty to the crime. Tried as an adult, he was handed a 28.5-year jail sentence, of which he had to serve at least 70%. Sally's big-hearted daughter, Martha McKay, believed he deserved to be rehabilitated. A practicing Buddhist, she forgave Lewis for what he did and began writing to him in prison. Warning. A lot of times the guys who commit these crimes are psychopaths and they will play you for all it's worth. They will say they want to be rehabilitated. You will write to them. They will be so nice. They will say, thank you so much for believing in me, blah, blah, blah. Okay. She felt empathy and sadness for Lewis, given how young he was at the time of the murders. He was almost an adult and he killed 2 people. He went into the house, not just to burglarize it. He went in with a gun. It's called a home invasion, and killed 2 people outright. He could have run away, but he did not. When Lewis was eventually freed in 2018 after serving 22 years, Martha quietly gave him a job. By this time, she had moved to Snowden House, having bought it from the rest of the family. She had it renovated and restored the rundown property with all its ghosts and dark past into a high-end bed and breakfast and wedding venue. It meant that Lewis, 39, was literally back at the scene of the crime with Martha, locally known as the Lady of the Lake, demonstrating the ultimate forgiveness. Now, mind you, too, she was bringing this guy into a place where she's inviting guests and people to stay overnight, which I think is, you're not paying attention to who you have to pay attention to the most. Your children, your family, and the people around you. You're risking their lives for your, I want to be nice thing that you got going on. But on Wednesday, March 25th of this year, which was, what year was that? Hold on a second. That was 20. Oh, all right. This year, I guess. All right. I thought it was maybe an older article. March 25th of this year. Well, I guess that has to be last year at least. Okay. Police responded to an alarm at the Snowden house. History was repeating itself as they quickly discovered a body. Martha, 63, was found at the top of the marble stairs, wrapped in a blanket. She had been stabbed. Okay, then they searched the lake and the body of the suspect was located and recovered. All right, he was discovered to be Travis Lewis. 23 years after killing Martha's mother, he'd struck again at the same location, murdering the daughter who had so selflessly forgiven him. Now, they also found drugs in his system. Interesting. Now, usually something happens before something happens. And one of the reasons when police hone in on somebody and people say, oh, why did you look at that person? It's because within the weeks or months past, that was an event that was unsettling and therefore might lead to something else. It was discovered that Lewis had been fired, which is an extremely dangerous thing to do with psychopaths, and banned from Snowden House a month before the murder. Martha had become wise to the truth about Lewis. His own mother, Gladys, who had worked as a housekeeper at Snowden House for years, had reportedly warned Martha that her son was returning to his old ways. So his mother knew the dude's a psychopath. And then an entry into Martha's diary, which was discovered after her death, revealed her suspicions that Lewis was a thief. No. Blow me down. After reading the diary, Katie discovered her sister had sold a chandelier for $14,000 cash, stashing the money in the Snowden house. Travis was at home the day she came home with the money. You know, there's a thing called a bank. Put your money in the bank. Don't bring it home to a place where there was a guy who committed a home invasion that killed your mother. All right. The money vanished. So Martha had fired him. So anyway, she fired him. He stole from her. She fired him. He killed her. You know, I like kind hearts. I do. But your kind heart has so many ways that you can express yourself without getting yourself killed and without getting your family killed and without getting your friends killed. Now, sometimes you can't prevent it no matter what you do. But please, don't fall for stuff. You know, a person who commits a crime like that is likely psychopathic and likely is not rehabilitatable. Now, he may come out and decide it's not worth doing that crime again because he got caught, but that'll be the only reason. And if you bring somebody in and they see you as a sucker, I mean, you just never know. And I feel sorry for her. She tried to be a nice human being, and boy, and this is very true. I've practiced forgiveness without forgetting. This is very good. Forgiveness with boundaries and a good memory. That is very, very true. One can forgive the person that, you know, they're a human being who has issues. And for whatever reasons, they're growing up or whatever reasons their psychopathology took over. You can say, I forgive the fact that that person was unable to stop themselves from doing a horrific thing. What? I'm going to leave the rest up to the justice system and God, and I'm not going to have them back in my house. You know, I'm done. You know, I don't have to bring them back into my life. I don't have to save them. I don't have to do all these other things. I don't, especially when you're the victim. Stephanie says, I don't think normal people understand that psychopaths can't be cured or changed. That is correct. Normal people that have empathy just assume other people do too. And they assume that given the right circumstances, that person can turn their life around. And that's true if they're not a total psychopath. And there are psychopaths who change their lives, but that's because they found a different methodology of being a psychopath. They know how to manipulate in perhaps a better way. Again, I refer you always to Stanton Samanow's book, Inside the Criminal Mind. Dr. Samanow, it's a brilliant book. And when he went to work at St. Elizabeth's Hospital as a naive psychiatrist, he was so played by the people there. Then finally one day he goes, wait a minute, these guys can't be rehabilitated. What he did learn was he could get them to believe that this path was going to cause them more trouble than this path. So it's all about them. They don't have empathy. It's not like, oh, I don't want to go down this path because it'll hurt people. Oh, no. I want the reason you move them to this path is because this one will work better for you. So, hey, you got caught last time. You keep getting caught by the police. Don't go down this path because you suck at what you do. You're going to get caught. Why don't you do this? You can manipulate people over here and maybe do better. But it's not because their hearts have changed. It's just because they found a better way for themselves to accomplish what they would like to accomplish, which is gaining attention and getting their ego fed and whatever else their issues are. So, yeah. That's the truth. Aesop's fables are really underappreciated. Yes, they are. Those are just a very nice way to clearly say, if you look at this way, you should recognize this is going to happen. That's very true. Now, the one other one I really want to do tonight is this particular. What I'm going to let me just say one nice thing about this guy, because I don't usually talk about people who have been a killer, and I give them sort of a possibility of doing something good. So I'm just going to say this for the sake of saying this. He served 36 years. He's in Baltimore. He served 34 years for killing another teen. Now he mentors Baltimore youth to avoid his mistakes. One reason I give this guy, give him a little bit of a break here, is that when he was, he actually says, when he was 16 years old, he took his mother's car one night. He was already going down to the drugs and criminal route. Drove up to a pair of teenagers, jumped out and chased them in an attempted robbery, and one of them was shot in the back. He and two others were arrested for the death. Okay, so he went to prison for a long time. One of the things he said, which I do like, unless he's been told to say this, is, I can't bring back my victim. And he does say victim, but I can try to do everything possible to give the rest of my life some meaning. Although I'd rather give the rest of my life to giving his death some meaning. I'd prefer that. But he works with a group called New Vision, and he tries to keep young people from going to prison by teaching them not to end up there. And one of the things that he does say over and over again, he says that Wallace's death was his awakening moment. Although he didn't know Wallace, that was his victim, or her. Oh no, sorry, this is somebody else. He said that when this other girl who was killed, he realized when he was in prison, he's like, wait a minute, look what's happening to her family and the whole community. He realized the ripple of destruction his actions had caused. So he knew that not only had he killed this kid, but he destroyed the kid's family and a lot of the community as well. He says, I've always been conscious of the act of my crime, which I appreciate him saying crime. And I didn't understand the layers of my crime. And I liked that. So he started studying in the prison library. He joined a program called Project Turnaround. And he now is 67 years old, and he's now been let out of prison. But I will say this. He, at least he seems to recognize that, he says, had I not stolen my mother's car, Irvin wouldn't have died and Earl wouldn't be in prison. Lives were wasted because I made a poor decision and committed a crime. And at least he admits that he committed a crime. He did something bad. And now, again, I don't know that he's a reformed psychopath who's just playing us, or whether he was very young at that age and got into some bad stuff and he wasn't quite a psychopath. But at least I like what he's saying. Okay. And he's trying to help people at this point, and in a way that he has the ability to help them, not just for attention or to write a book or to get on television. So I just thought I'd say that, because I usually am pretty harsh with anybody who's in prison. This is the last one I want to talk about today, is this. Oh, not him. I'm going to skip him. Where is it? No. It's this guy. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. This guy, because somebody just asked me to talk about this one, because this guy's up for getting out of prison. He's on death row. And the question is he guilty or isn't he guilty? His name is Kevin Cooper. In this case, I mean, right now, when I look at this guy, now that he's older, Kevin Cooper looks like a professor. It looks like a dad. He looks like somebody. He's very likable looking. I mean, you look at him and go, maybe he is innocent. Okay. Is he, though? All right, so somebody asked me to take a look at this, and so this will be my last thing for today. All right, Kevin Cooper is an African-American man currently on death row at San Quentin. Maybe he knows somebody else that we know these days on certain YouTube channels. I wonder what his thoughts are. No, I don't. Cooper was found guilty of 4 murders in Chino Hills area of California in 1983. However, he steadfastly maintained his innocence, as do a whole bunch of other killers. Okay, so that doesn't mean he's innocent. It just maintains he's innocent. All right. His conviction and death sentence have been highly controversial. Now, how does something become highly controversial? Number one, because you're on death row, and there's a lot of death row people who anti-death row, death penalty advocates out there. They make it controversial. Not that so much that anybody else thinks it's controversial, but they make it controversial. So again, you have to look at agenda. All right. Garnering repeated attention from both Nicholas Kristof of the New York Times and Aaron Moriarty on the CBS news program 48 Hours. And, okay, there have been accusations that Cooper received an inadequate defense. Oh, that's always comes up. Because, you know, when you get your new defense team, they're going to say your last defense team was inadequate. That's how you get an appeal. As well as prosecutorial misconduct, always thrown out there, such as destruction of evidence, withholding exculpatory evidence from the defense, planting of evidence. Oh, that really comes out there. When you start saying they're planting evidence, then you got to wonder, what is the evidence that they're so worried about that you have to say it was planted? Brainwashing to witnesses and perjured testimony by the sheriff's department. Basically, everything. They just threw everything. All right. There have been practical questions raised about how Cooper, at 155 pounds and allegedly acting alone, could have overpowered a 6'2" ex-military policeman and his athletic wife, both of whom had loaded firearms close at hand, or perhaps not close enough at hand. All right, because no matter who attacked them, they didn't have those firearms in their hands. Otherwise, they would have shot some people. It has also been questioned as to why a single perpetrator would use 3 or 4 different weapons. All right, that's true. I get that point. To commit the murders, and why none of the victims were able to run away while the others were being attacked. Well, there's always good reasons for that. And usually it's because you make sure you threaten the first one and you have the other ones either lay down on the ground or whatever you're doing to be able to control the scene. All right. And then sometimes what you do is you start with, you kill the guy first. And once he's out of the way, there's just a wife and some kids. They're easy to control. All right. Now, so there's these, in 2007, 2 judges of the United States Court of Appeals wrote that they have repeatedly found that the evidence of Cooper's guilt was overwhelming. The test for which he asked to show his innocence once and for all showed nothing of the sort. So it's like they keep presenting stuff, and it's like, yeah, there's so much evidence here. Now, however, there's a guy that comes out of the woodwork here, and his name is William A. Fletcher. He's a distinguished federal appeals court judge, declared that the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department framed this guy, Cooper. Now, if you look up William Fletcher, you got to be careful who you're looking at. He is a judge who has gone on the anti-death penalty thing. He's a very progressive person, and most of his stuff is highly progressive, and therefore he's also aligned himself with the anti-death penalty, which is his right. But you just got to know where he's coming from. Is he there because he thinks Cooper is innocent, or is he there because he's anti-death penalty and he'll take every single case and try to prove the guy's innocent? All right, so he had a dissenting opinion. And they said the state of California may be about to execute an innocent man. All right. And that they tampered with evidence, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Who is Kevin Cooper? Let me show you the picture of the guy again when he's looking nice anyway. I don't know what he looked like at the time. I'm going to say probably didn't look as really nice as that. But anyway. He was at 6 months, he was adopted, and he was subjected to physical abuse. He ran away from home numerous times, and he was sent to juvenile custody situations as an adolescent. So, tough life. He had a criminal record, including, hold up. 1 second. There'll be dust in the air. All right. His criminal past was stealing and burglary. He was sentenced to 1 to 2 year prison term for burglarizing a home in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now listen to this. Cooper was never tried, but later stipulated to kidnapping and raping a minor female. So one of these things where you plead down to something so you don't get nailed with rape, right? And that's what happened. During the purported crime, he threatened to kill the teenage victim. Over the next 5 years, he was convicted and sentenced to jail twice for burglaries and released on probation in 1982. He escaped from custodial settings in Pennsylvania 11 times. Okay, I'm going to say, Pennsylvania, you suck. Because a guy gets away 11 times, I'm going to give him a little clap. Because you couldn't control your people. This guy is supposed to be in your custody, and 11 times he gets away. I think he's just proven you're idiots. All right. In late 1982, he fled to California after escaping from a Pennsylvania psychiatric facility. All right. In California, Cooper was soon convicted of 2 burglaries in Los Angeles area. And he began serving a 4-year sentence under the alias of David Troutman. Okay, in Chino. Now, this guy is a lifelong felon. And if they put him in a psychiatric institute, probably because he's a psychopath and a half, but they're thinking maybe he's just crazy. But he's got violent crimes all over the place. All right. And then they put him in Chino in a minimum security section because, he only got away 11 times. So on June 2nd, 1983, he climbs through a hole in the prison fence. This is, you watch things on TV and they do these incredible, clever escapes from prison. Apparently, you don't have to do all that work. You just crawl through a hole in the fence. And he walked away from the prison across an open field. So now, let's get straight the date. June 2nd, he escapes from prison. On the morning of June 5th, some friend arrives at the Chino Hills home of the Ryans, Douglas and Peggy. He finds them dead, along with their 10-year-old daughter and the son. And his own son. His own son was staying overnight. Sorry. So Douglas and Peggy Ryan, their 10-year-old daughter, Jessica, and his own son, who he's picking up, I guess, was dead, the 11-year-old. They had been chopped with a hatchet, sliced with a knife, and stabbed with an ice pick. Josh Ryan, the 8-year-old son of Douglas and Peggy, had survived. His throat had been cut. Mrs. Ryan's purse was in plain sight on the kitchen counter, but no money had been taken, which is interesting. The family station wagon was gone. It was discovered a few days later in Long Beach, California, about 50 miles southwest of Chino Hills. Now, I understand why you might think a few people committed the crime because there's a few weapons. I'm with that. Money wasn't stolen, so was this a thrill kill? What was it? All right. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department responded to a call that identified Kevin Cooper as the likely killer. Why? Why would they just because he escaped from prison? Oh, no, that's not why. He had admittedly hidden out in a vacant house next door. So either this guy is the killer or he's got really bad luck because right after he got out, he escaped from prison and holed up next door to these people's houses. Some other killers came and killed them. Can you believe it? My goodness. He stayed in a place called the Lease House. He stayed there for 2 days. He made repeated calls from the house to 2 female friends asking for money to help with his escape, but they refused. Cooper testified at trial. He left that house as soon as it got dark on June 4th. Wait a minute. When did they get killed? Let's see. On June 5th, the guy arrived at the house and everybody was dead. This guy leaves on June 4th. All right. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. He left on June 4th and hitchhiked to Mexico. It was established that Cooper checked into a hotel in Tijuana about 130 miles south of Chino Hills at 4:30 p.m. on June 5th. They were dead on the morning of June 5th. They were killed, most likely, on June 4th, when he disappeared and then ended up in Tijuana. There, Cooper, got this one, gets worse. There, Cooper befriended an American couple who owned a sailboat. He hitched a ride on the boat with them as a crew member cruising the Baja and Southern California coast. 7 weeks later, while still staying on the couple's boat, he was accused of raping a woman at knife point on the boat dock nearby. While visiting the sheriff's office to report the crime, the rape victim saw a wanted poster with Cooper's photograph and identified him as the rapist. Okay, so they detained him as he tried to swim ashore. He was never charged with rape or assault, but was it accused of rape? Well, I don't know why he didn't get charged there, but all right. Now, let's take a look. I want to take a look at some evidence. in this case. All right. A khaki green button identical to the buttons on somebody's jacket was found in the room where Cooper slept. So in other words, a button from that house ended up in the room where he slept. Okay, had blood on it, either from Cooper or the victims. A blood-stained rope was found in the closet of the bedroom used by Cooper. The rope was similar to another rope found in the Ryan driveway. Luminol testing indicated their bloody footprints in the hallway leading to the bedroom where he was sleeping and on the shower stalls in the house. Hair similar to that of Jessica Ryan was found in the bathroom sink in the Lease house. That's where he was hiding out in. A hatchet that went missing from that Lease house was very similar to a hatchet found on the side of the road by a citizen that had blood and hairs are consistent of the murdered victims. The sheath of, remember the sheath that was found at the scene in Idaho? Well, this sheath for this hatchet, where was it found? It was found on the floor near the bedroom where Cooper slept. Buck knives, an 11-inch hunting knife, and ice picks were missing from the Lease house. The strap for one of the buck knives was found on the floor in the bedroom where Cooper slept. So all the weapons came from the Lease house, and the sheaths for those weapons were all around his bed, along with footprints and all that kind of stuff. There were pro-ked, let's see, okay. There was a blood stain also was identified belonging to Kevin Cooper. And then this is where they start say that the evidence was, planted and messed up and all that kind of stuff. Pro-ked tennis shoes. I think it's called pro-ked tennis shoes. Prints from these tennis shoes were consistent with the size and pattern of the shoes given to Cooper at CIM. I guess that's where the prison he was in were found in the Lease house. Now, later on, they claimed that those prints that they weren't only from the prison, but other people could buy those kind of shoes elsewhere. But oddly enough, so he's in the house next door with those exact shoes, but somebody with those same exact shoes and the same exact size, amazingly, attacked the people next door to him. Oh my God. Plant burrs recovered from Jessica Ryan's nightgown were similar to those found on a blanket inside the closet of the Lease house and in the Ryan car. Let's see. Oh, there's hair consistent with Cooper's was found on the Ryan car. Okay, it just goes on and on. Now, there's a claim that some woman in that town said this guy, other creepy guy who was a killer, was the guy who did it with a bunch of buddies of his, and that the kid who was survived thought it was 3 Mexicans, but hey, it wasn't really 3 Mexicans, it was 3 white guys. But hey, if you take, I don't care what you say about all the rest of that, but all the evidence was found in the house where Cooper was staying. Massive amount of evidence linking him to the crime. And what bothers me about this kind of thing is here we get people jumping on board to get him off death row. Now, for God's sakes, I keep saying this over and over again. There's got to be people on death row, and there are, who are actually innocent. Don't waste your time with people who are clearly guilty because you're just ruining your cause, and you're ruining me thinking, hey, Innocence Project, maybe you're honorable and have ethics. Speaking of ethics today, lots of ethics. So anyway, what are they? It's up again. Let's see what's happening right now. No, it's Governor Newsom. May 28th of 2021, Gavin Newsom signed an executive order. Wait a minute, it goes back. Let me go back a little further. So basically, Arnold Schwarzenegger said, "Go jump" when he was governor. Then the Governor Brown, what's this? Jerry Brown, then ordered new DNA testing in 2018. Soon afterwards, Kamala Harris, who and Dianne Feinstein both publicly called for advanced DNA testing in this case. Now, mind you, all the evidence is right next to his damn bed in the house that he's hiding in the day after he gets out of prison. I mean, escapes prison. So anyway, new DNA testing was ordered. Apparently, none of that worked. Didn't exclude him at all. Now, in 2021, Gavin Newsom signed an executive order appointing the law firm of Morrison & Foerster to launch an independent investigation of death row inmate Kevin Cooper's case. as his application for clemency. It never ends, because when you have an agenda, you don't care about the truth, you care about your agenda. And you will fight this because you have so much money. So much money is put into this organization. You can fight this every single year with massive amount of lawyers. And so my answer on Kevin Cooper, guilty as hell. Guilty, 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 and really guilty. And it just, again, bugs me, because do what's right. Go try to save people who are really actually in there, who somehow ended up in prison, that were innocent. But when you start pushing for guilty people to get out, I lose all respect, because I have to know you know. And when I think you know, then you're a liar and you don't care what the truth is. All right. So anyway, I'm going to stop with this one today. All right. So, Molly says, then he got arrested, then he escaped, then got caught 200 miles away, and so far locked up again. An insane, violent, evil, dangerous world. Yeah, it's this guy. I don't know if Kim was off trying to help this guy. She's got a lot of people she helps. Most of them are guilty. Once in a while, she actually goes for a guy that's not guilty. And again, I want that to happen. You know, I mean, I would hate to think that I was locked up for something I didn't do. And the other thing that's very important about this, there's three groups of people that the Innocence Project and these agendas will focus on. One is truly innocent people. And that's a really tiny little group where that person who was accused, and there's one I want to look at, where the guy has no criminal record, no reason for him to be looked at. For some reason, the police glommed onto him. And he was convicted when he's like a regular guy, a nice, normal, regular guy, and they destroyed his life. It's a teeny weeny little group. Then you get the next group, which is about this big, which is maybe the guy was innocent, but he was already a serial rapist, and he already had a criminal record a mile long, and he already was a psychopath. He just may not have committed that crime. He just committed all the other crimes. So the reason the police looked at him was because they thought he really did it. Kind of like Stephen Avery. They thought he did that first crime because he was a psychopath. He did harass women, and the woman identified him, and they thought he did it. And they were right that he was a violent psychopath, a sexual psychopath. It just, not that crime. They got him later for the real crime he did. So you get this group. Then you get the other group over here, which is the guy's guilty as hell. And yet they get these huge groups in the Innocence Project pushing them to get out of prison. And they get out on some technicality, and then they get $10 million, and everybody goes, oh, isn't it wonderful? He's going home finally to his family. And like, oh, the guy killed a woman. You know, the guy's and he's got a rap sheet a mile long, and he's an absolute scumbag. And if I go back and look at their appeals, the evidence was overwhelming. They just found some technicality, and they because they control the media, they pushed all of that down and make it look like he was this innocent fellow who was just, just walking home from his job at the school, and he was going home to his wife and 2 children, and he just got grabbed off the street for no reason and accused of this crime and spent 30 years in prison. And once you start lying, I lose respect. Sorry. I mean, I just have zero once you do that. And I guess it works in general because the media eats it up because it makes good media. And then a lot of people fall for it because they believe the media is telling the truth, and the people who are fighting for these people are telling the truth, and they're not. And it's just really sad because the truth should be the most important thing, and justice should be the most important thing. And we shouldn't have people like Adnan Syed case. Heyman Lee's brother is now fighting to get that overturned because it was nonsense what happened. It was a whole political ploy. But when you've got a big, huge podcast that made $1 million or more, I don't know how much a podcast made, and people bought into what was done in that podcast or said in that podcast, and it becomes like a fairy tale, and it isn't about the truth anymore. It's about what people want to believe, and it's sad. It's really sad. So anyway, let's see. Always with the graduation picture. Yeah, that is one of the problems. I mean, a lot of times when they're trying to say somebody's innocent, they put the nicest picture ever of them, and not the picture that that they look like a killer. But again, there's a problem on both sides there, because sometimes I have pictures of me which aren't pleasing, shall we say. And you can get caught, having been on television as much as I have. I've seen people pull stills out of the videos I've done, and they're unattractive, shall we say. Those kind of things. And they'll look at that woman. And it could be they just caught me at a moment between one thought. I could be going, and they catch that. So pictures, pictures don't tell me a lot. I just don't put too much emphasis on it. Even if you got the person's been they've been caught, and they're standing in front of that, they're at the police station now, and they're doing, and they look scary. Well, if you've just been arrested for something, I don't care if you're innocent, your face might not be happy. Who knows? You might not have makeup on at that moment, and you look like some deranged, bum. It's hard to say. Kate says, I'm going to start my own news station and do the opposite, like Photoshop them kicking puppies or something. Hey, no, that's called Twitter. And that's another problem. Twitter's. I've seen so many Photoshop things, so many phony stories. And it doesn't matter part of the political spectrum you're on. It doesn't matter. It's like there's these groups of people who don't care about the truth, who exaggerate, who create, and who Photoshop the living crap out of things and claim things that are true that aren't true. And so it's very difficult to know what the truth is. You can go the mass media. You can say, okay, well, don't listen to people on Twitter or Facebook. You should just pay attention to mass media. Well, they lie too. So you got liars over here and questionable stuff over here. So it sometimes becomes very difficult to know where the truth is. It's just sad. It's just absolutely sad. Well, here we go. Yeah, we've got too many fools listening to these people, naive people. Well, they're naive, and I think that people, when they think they can help, when they think they can change something, it's better than not being able to change something. Something you could do by believing in something, you can do something. So you got Stephen Avery, Darlie Routier, or Routier. I don't know how to pronounce that woman's name, Routier, because I always pronounce it French style, but I'm probably wrong. Stephen Avery, Darlie Routier, Scott Peterson, ridiculous, all psychos, all guilty. I agree. But, if they're all psychos, you can't do anything because they are what they are. But if you can believe they might be innocent, then you can start fighting for something. And I think a lot of people, they want to have meaning in their life. They want to feel they can do something. And when you get huge groups of people together and they fight with these petitions and they send money and all this crap, sometimes they do actually change things. Stephen Avery thing, now he's got his the whole Netflix thing happened. He hasn't gotten out yet. Thank God they haven't fallen for it yet there in Wisconsin. But there are other ones who they managed to get enough attention where that person does get the appeal, because even the appeals, the judges who are dealing with those are often influenced by the public, because being the evil, being the, I don't want to say evil, being the bad guy, essentially. I find this in my work all the time, because I have two choices. I can go with what people really want to believe, or I can go with the truth. I go with the truth and you get hate. If I go with the things people want to believe, oh my God, I get on all the television shows, I get the documentaries, and I make a lot of money and everybody loves me. So when you're a judge in some of these appeals things, after you've been browbeaten in the media, that to be a decent human being, you had better give the appeal. Not all judges can stand strong against that. And the whole appeals process, they just finally say, fine. let's do the appeal. Let's have the new trial. Just, they can't take it anymore because it can destroy your life and your career. And so, yeah, that's very sad. Let's see what you have to say. Who? Pam who? Pam Hop. I don't know who that is, but if you'll let me know, I'll take a look at it. Grandma Ted. In our society, it has become acceptable to create a false narrative of yourself and lifestyle. So we Photoshop all our photos. Okay, I do. And exaggerate our lifestyles. I don't. I do Photoshop my thumbnails. And that's only because I cannot look at my channel and see my thumbnails in a row it doesn't look good. Let me tell you, but when you click on the thumbnail and you start my show, this is me. I don't have plastic surgery. I don't have Botox. There's no filters. This is me. So, yeah, pretty much you see what you're going to get. But I do cheat on them. I do cheat on the thumbnails, but I don't lie about my lifestyle or who I am. But yes, I think because our world has gotten so much bigger than it used to be. Because I remember when I was raising my children, I was homeschooling. I loved my life, and I lived in a town I loved, and I had 3 kids, and we homeschooled, and all these different things we did, and that was my world, and that world was good enough. And that was 1980s. That was before really computers and internet started going very well. So my world was my world, and that was the only world that mattered. But now our worlds have expanded to the entire globe, and we can reach out everywhere. And so we're not confined to just our life. And if our life is not exciting enough, that we think it's not exciting enough, we see now things. Let me tell you a story. This is just a very sad thing, but it's very true. In Jamaica, they saw oh no, I'm gonna forget the show. Shoot, Miami Vice. In Jamaica, up in the town where my ex-husband was born in. It's a little mountain town between Mandeville and Kingston, small little town. And there was only like one TV in the town at one time I went to visit it, and it was in the 80s. And it was a lot of people they had goats, and there were yam farmers. Very poor area. A lot of children had no shoes. And the problem was when they got that one TV, they used to be happy. And my husband would say things like, "Hey, do you still fly kites?" And they looked at him like he was insane, because he used to make these bamboo kites, and you take these, like, the tissue paper, and you make these really pretty kites and you fly them. That was one of the things they loved to do. They made soccer balls out of whatever and kicked the balls around, and they had their life there. But then they got that TV, and people gather at that one guy's house, and they watched that TV, and Miami Vice was on, and they saw the fancy houses and the fancy clothes and the fancy cars. And now they wanted that which they did not have in their town and had no access to get that in their town. So then you had a problem of desire started, getting to people, and a dissatisfaction with the life they were happy with prior to seeing the stupid Miami Vice show. So the same is true on the internet. We might be happy till we get on the internet and we see what the Kardashians are doing, and we see that we could be going to all these places in the world, and we see that we could have all this money. We see that we could be this and we could be that. And suddenly our lives don't seem important enough and satisfactory enough. And that's super, super sad, because when you really come down to it, the greatest joy and the greatest love and the greatest satisfaction you'll ever get is right there at home and right there in your community, friends, family, and what you can do for your work in the community. That's always going to be more satisfactory than anything else out there. And I think it's sad. And I don't know if we can ever roll that back, because here I am on the internet with my YouTube channel. So there you go. See how that works. But it is sad. Kate says, I don't have the energy to pretend to be someone else. I barely have the energy for the life I have. Well, there's that. It's a lot of work to be way more, not even more. See, that's the thing. You're not even being more. You're just being different. And it is a lot of work and not so fun. Not so fun. But okay, well, I'm glad you think that. This group is proof how the internet can be used to enhance your life. And yes, I mean, I do love the internet myself, obviously. And there's many YouTube channels I enjoy that I learn from. Art channels, I like nature channels a lot. There's just different kinds of things I learn from the internet. And so I have a channel where I'm learning the Indian flute. It's called the Bansuri. I love Indian flute music. And there's a guy there who teaches on the internet. It's so cheap. And he's in India, but I can learn right there, learning how to play the flute. I've learned art techniques, just all kinds of cool things you can learn. It's just fun stuff. Cooking and all that. And hopefully criminal profiling, educational things. So yes, there's good stuff, but there's also 90% garbage. Maybe 99% garbage. So you gotta be careful. That there is a trade-off in life. That is true. And you just gotta balance your life. I think that's just the important thing for all of us, to balance our lives out so that we have a good life. I mean, yeah, and there's always something we can do to make our lives better. So I think we should do that. But hopefully it would be nice if we could tone down the crime, you know what I mean? So that we feel safe and so that people, that we don't allow crime to proliferate to the extent it's proliferating these days. And if we don't understand that we have to have a sense of morals and ethics, then we're helping destroy essentially our society and the kids and the society our children and our grandchildren grow up in. So I feel bad about that. But anyway, that's my last speech for tonight. So anyway, I'm glad you were here tonight. I'm going to have to probably, because I can't believe that thing isn't making noise at the beginning of the show. I'm going to have my son just I'll take this and I'll edit it and then I'll put it up. But Saturday, 3 p.m. EST, I will be doing the case of Garrett Phillips and the whole issue of whether Nick Hillary, who was the man accused of killing Garrett Phillips, the 12-year-old boy, was it because he was targeted because of race, because he was there weren't that many Black people in town, and he was a Jamaican, and he's a soccer coach in town. And I laughed. And one of the reasons I want to do this because I was married to a Jamaican soccer coach. So I feel like I have an understanding of some of the situation of where this whole thing happened and the way people think and the way Nick Hillary would have thought about things. And he was, it was an interracial dating situation. And I've been there with a Jamaican soccer coach. So it's very familiar territory. So I got to do this case. And it's a very interesting case. So join me on Saturday, 3 p.m. EST. And then I'm going to play. Yes, be here on Saturday. Yeah, Sunday I'm going to play table tennis with. I have my table tennis coach now, and he's teaching me to actually do some really cool stuff. And it's really kind of fun to actually get better at table tennis. So yeah, and the weather's going to be good because that place is so far away from my house that I do not want to drive it in the rain and snow. So it's a sunny day on Sunday, so I'm going to go and play with him, and then I'm going to join they have a whole team thing going on. So I'm going to play the other people and see if I get slaughtered. But but it's great fun. So I'm going to do that. So anyway, I could care less about the Kardashians. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. I sometimes I read these things and I'm like, yeah, who cares? I don't care what that person. Oh my God, they've got a nude see-through dress that they're wearing. I really don't care. I really don't. I really don't care. But oh yeah, I know I do play pickleball too. But so I do both of them, pickleball and table tennis. So Yeah, but I'm not getting coaching right now in pickleball. I just go play locally. But I decided I wanted to get better at table tennis because that's always been kind of a favorite of mine. So yeah, so I'm going to do that. So yes, hey, be there on Saturday. I'm glad you're here, Stephanie. And again, if you're new to the channel, I'm glad you said Saturday. I keep thinking Sunday last week and missed your Ketty show. Yeah, I had to take a plane on. Oh, by the way, before I go off air here, I just want to say I flew Spirit to Puerto Rico because it was a through flight, and I flew Spirit home, and it destroyed my Spirit entirely. So I have nothing nice to say. Well, okay, the flight attendants on Spirit were fine, but those seats, I mean, you're sitting away with your so tight in there, your knees are up your nose. They got this tiny little, they don't have a tray. They got this tiny little thing that flips down where you put your drink on, it falls off, and you put your food on, it falls off. You put your laptop on, it falls off. It is absolute torture. And luckily it was like 3.5 hour flight. But it was still torture. And also I got stuck on a bag line because I was bringing my equipment down to Puerto Rico. An hour and a half I stood in that bag line that they told me all I had to do was drop off my bag and keep going. They lied. So Spirit is not on my good list. It is not. It was not fun. So I will avoid Spirit in the future. Ugh. Archery. That's interesting. I haven't done that since high school. Oh my God. Oh, that would be awesome. A pickleball court in the backyard. Yeah, that would be grand. Well, thank you very much, CJ. And yeah, so I will hopefully see you here on Saturday. Yeah, try pickleball. Pickleball is super fun. Super fun. It's it's a smaller court than tennis. You don't have to run quite as far. The ball hits you in the face. It doesn't hurt that much because it's a wiffle ball, but it's fast. It's skilled, and it's a lot of fun. Don't think it's just an old people's game. It's not. I mean, younger and younger people are playing pickleball now, and it probably will become an Olympic sport because it's super fun. So definitely try that. So somebody else did archery. I just did it in high school. Gosh, yes, I did in high school. But I don't have very strong arms, so I was having trouble. My aim is really good. I shoot better than I can use. I couldn't pull the stupid thing back. So you must have strong arms. So anyway, I will see you next time. And now I'm going to see if the music plays at the end, if not in the beginning. Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to find out what's wrong with that. It's bizarre. Anyway, I'll see you all guys on Saturday. See ya.